I'm building the wall that's going to support the expansion to my layout on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, then be sure and subscribe down below and click that little bell icon so you can catch future videos. Well, I have been excited for many weeks about getting started on the new expansion to my layout. And today we're finally going to get started. I've had a number of things that have kind of been occupying my attention for the past several weeks, including moving my son to Georgia where he's going to lineman school, as well as deploying to DeRidder, Louisiana to help do some chainsaw work cleaning up after Hurricane Laura. But now I'm home, things are settled down a little bit, and it's finally time to get started on this layout expansion. Today, I'm going to be building a false wall that's going to support both decks of the layout and also is going to be the back of the area that's going to be my new studio, which is basically where my camera is sitting right now. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do this because this may be helpful to some of you as I've got to do some special things here to build a temporary wall without damaging some parts of my room that I don't want to damage. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here as we get going. Well, right now, right underneath my feet, I have the boards that are going to be the top and bottom plate for this temporary wall. And I'm going to show you what I got to do to kind of tie this in right now, and then we're going to lay that wall out and get started. Check out our sponsor, Midwest Model Railroad. With some of the best prices and customer service in the business, they're your one-stop model railroad shop. MidwestModelRR.com. Link in the description. First, I want you to see where this wall is going to tie into the existing wall. Right here is the end of the area of my layout as it has existed. My old helix used to sit right here where my hand is. And you can see here the end of the upper deck and also the lower deck of my layout. The new wall is going to tie in right here and extend directly this direction as it will tie into the old layout in this location. On the other end, that wall is going to tie into this support column. This is a steel support column in my house, but it's been boxed in with wood, and so I've got something there that I can connect the other end of the wall into. The thing I'm going to have to be careful to work around is this cold air return plenum that runs along the ceiling in my basement. I'll be tying the top of the wall into a ceiling joist overhead, but I'm going to have to work around this plenum as there's nothing really here for me to screw into. So I'm going to have to work around this a little bit gingerly. The other thing that you'll see is that as I'm building this, I have just replaced the flooring in my basement. And I did that in a general way, covered all of the floor, because someday I may want to sell this house. I wanted the flooring to be intact and consistent throughout the room. I want this wall to be one that can be taken out if I ever decide to sell the house. Therefore, it's going to have to sit on the floor without actually tying into the floor. And I've got some ideas for ways to help make that stable and make that work. But we'll be tying it into the ceiling joist and into this post and the wall on the ends. I'll show you what I'm going to do on the floor when we get there. I started by measuring the length of my top plate. The top plate is about 2 feet shorter than the bottom plate due to that plenum in the ceiling. After cutting the plates to length, I laid them out side by side to mark the placement of the studs. These are 16 inches apart on center. I measured the height of the wall and subtracted 3 inches to get the length of the studs. The joists had sagged a bit over time, so I had to adjust the length of the studs along the length of the wall as I went. Well, I got all of my lumber cut and test fit the top and bottom plate to make sure they were going to fit in. And now I'm about ready to do some assembly. By the way, if the sound is not very good on this section, I'm shooting with a shotgun mic. It's a little ways away, but no way for me really to use my normal lavalier mic while I'm doing this building. A couple things just to note. First of all, as I measured for the various studs. I took some checks all the way through, and I was glad I did, because I discovered that the ceiling joists in here have sagged a little bit over time. My house is almost 45 years old, so that's not a surprise, which meant that each stud was about 1/8 of an inch shorter than the one before, going from the outer wall towards the center. So I cut those all to the proper length for the individual places where they were. Cut a short top plate to go underneath this plenum that I showed you earlier. And now I think we're ready to start assembly. Now for construction like this, I really like to use a screw gun, a cordless drill, and 3-inch screws to screw my walls together, to screw my studs in. So that's how we're going to be doing this, and we look forward to getting this into place. I also should mention that because I want to be careful not to scratch my floor whenever I put this in, I intentionally cut my studs just a little bit short, about 1/8 of an inch short each, to give me a little bit of extra room to fit the wall in as I stand it up. And I bought a couple packages of commercial shims to shim along the ceiling in order to help make up that gap. So you'll see that as we stand the wall up in just a little bit. But let's get our wall put together now. I laid out my top and bottom plate and all of the full-length studs first. I screwed them together using 2 screws in the top and bottom of each stud, being careful to make sure that each one was lined up, square, and flush with the edges of the plates. I then added the short plate and the cripple studs that fit under the plenum. Okay, I worked up a sweat getting that put together, but got the wall all assembled here. And now my son Noah and I are going to attempt to stand it up and fit it into place. We got a lot to work around between fitting it in between the post and the wall down there, working around this plenum. The soffit is above, up along the top of the wall on the other end, as well as the existing layout. So it's going to be interesting, but we're going to see what we can do. The wall stood up and slipped into place far easier than I had expected. I did have to make a minor adjustment to the short plate under the plenum, but that was a quick and easy fix, and in just a few minutes we had the wall standing, plumb, and screwed in place. And just like that, we have a stud wall in place. I'm pretty excited about that. We did have to do a little bit of adjusting, as you know, not everything is perfectly square and plumb in a 45-year-old house. But we got it in good shape. I had thought about putting some feet, some cleats on about every other stud on this, just to help give it a little extra stability to the bottom of this wall, since it's not actually screwed into the floor. But you know, literally it is extremely solid, not moving at all. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think we're going to be in fine shape just the way we are. Now, one thing I will mention, as I built this, I put the best edge of all of my studs facing this direction, which is on the layout side of the wall. The reason I did that is because on the upper deck, it's going to be held on with shelf brackets. I need really good faces of the edges of the studs in order to be able to connect those brackets in and have them nice and stable. On the other side, it's going to be drywalled, and screwing drywall to imperfect stud edges is a lot more forgiving than it's going to be on this side. So I chose to go that way, and looking forward to in the next couple of installments getting Benchwork installed for the lower deck first. Then I'm going to be building a helix, which is going to be on the back side of this wall, right up here, kind of beside the camera, right up next to that support post that we connected into. I'll be putting drywall on the back side for my studio, and then putting the upper deck in after I get the helix built. So that's what we have to come, and I'm very excited about getting this expansion going. Well, hey, if you enjoyed this video, you'd like to see a little more about what my plans are for the expansion, check out the video in the link in the corner of your screen right now. Also, be sure and take a moment to check out the description down below, where you're going to find my links to my Amazon page and my Amazon pick of the week. Really exciting products there that I love, and I know you will too. There's also a MicroMark promo code and tons of other great links that I know you'll appreciate and enjoy. Well, if you'd like some more model railroad content right now, check out the links on your screen. And be sure to join me each Tuesday as I bring you even more great model railroad videos. And I look forward to seeing you then. 10, Lizzie?